Hello, it's the 13th of May. I've just received this support desk notice asking me to provide some additional video footage specifically for the bug that I've reported on the forums. Specifically, it asks for video of the concern not working as intended, and also of it working as intended. Unfortunately, I don't think I'll personally be able to provide the latter, because this does affect every single job and every single action, depending on how far away the player is located from the data center. I would like to point out once more that I am, as described in the bug report thread, not just talking about normal effects of latency. I'm specifically talking about how the game client is handling the server response about how long the animation lockout is supposed to happen. It affects every connection. It affects any player playing the game basically at all. It's just that on high latency connections, the issue becomes more apparent, which is why I and many other people I've seen talk about this problem hold the belief that it has just kind of slipped under the radar of the developers themselves for a good long while. This problem has kind of been reported on for years. I've just not seen any actual bug reports in the actual forums about it. Again, though, here's the actual presentation of the bug. For the first example, I'm going to go through it with the sequence of events that I've described in the steps in the forum post, which is to say, using any dancer GCD action, and then trying to follow it up with, say, 2 fan dances in a row. So, first off, it's time to get those 2 fan dance stacks. No luck so far. We'll get there. Actually, in the meantime, I can try to weave... Oh, there we go. Okay. There's 1, there's 2. And for good measure, 1 more. Okay. I'm going to use Cascade, and then I'm immediately going to use Fan Dance and Fan Dance 2 in sequence. Or just Fan Dance twice, I guess, at that point. I would like to draw attention specifically to how when an action is... when the button of an action is used, you see this little circle exploding thing. That's the instant I press the button. That appears the actual moment I press it on my physical keyboard. So you can kind of gauge how things look from there. Also, the global cooldown, in the ideal case, even on this connection, runs smoothly in that the clock here never actually stops. It goes around and never pauses. That works perfectly smoothly when it's just about the normal GCD actions, because the gap in between those is long enough that the animation lockout is not a problem. Where it becomes a problem is when you're trying to also use off-global cooldown actions in between. On a connection with low latency, it is perfectly possible to fit 2 of these OGCDs, off-global cooldown abilities, in between 2 GCD, global cooldown abilities. But at some point on a higher latency connection, it becomes impossible. Not because of the delay between game and server itself, but specifically because of the game mishandling the information it receives from the server about how long an animation is supposed to take. So, here we go. I'm going to hit Cascade, try to fit 2 fan dances in, and then immediately hit Fountain. Please watch the icon for Fountain closely near the end. Ah, can't do a countdown in the file. Okay. Here goes. 3, 2, 1. Cascade. I'm mashing for... Once more. Did you see that pause there? The clock stopped. For a solid little bit. Meaning that even though I was mashing fan dance as fast as possible, even with the system that kind of registers a key press ahead of time for an action, like so, Fountain kind of had to wait there. This is because depending on how your connection goes, depending on the latency, this instant cast ability, as well as all other abilities, but it's most apparent with the instant cast ones, takes longer to use than on a low latency connection. Not just in that it reaches the server later, it literally takes the character longer to execute fan dance. There is another job that I essentially just do not play anymore because of how bad this problem is, and that's Machinist. I would like to exhibit really quick just how dire that can get. I will have to get the heat for Hypercharge first of all. After using Hypercharge, you enter a window where typically you would want to use Heat Blast, then either Gauss Round or Ricochet, then Heat Blast again, then either Gauss Round or Ricochet, just one after the next, back and forth. And depending on your ping, that is either a really nice smooth experience, or completely impossible without delaying the next cast. Which you typically would never want to do. Of course, you never want your global cooldown to have to wait on anything else. That's just kind of how the game goes. You don't want to use all of your instant abilities at the same time. No, you want to use the global cooldown, weave a couple of them in, use another global cooldown ability, weave a couple of them in, use another. But when I press Hypercharge, this happens. Please look closely at Heat Blast and Gauss Round for this. Okay, here we go. Heat Blast. I'm mashing Gauss Round. And still, Heat Blast every time has to wait a little while. The cooldown for Heat Blast wears all the way off. But after the Gauss Round or Ricochet resolves, Heat Blast is still only technically ready. Technically, the ability itself is off cooldown already. But I can't use it yet, because I'm still stuck in the animation lock of Gauss Round or Ricochet. Even in normal operation of Machinist, you can't use these two consecutively without delaying your global cooldown, depending on your connection. Here, for example, here's Heated Split Shot. I'll just try to hit Gauss Round twice, and then Slug Shot. One, mash, 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 mash. Just like that. Once more with Ricochet. And I'll try it once more with Rook Auto Turret and Hypercharge. I think in that instant I may have misaligned the buttons a little bit there. It's been a while since I played Machinist. I'll try Head Grace and Reassemble. Once again, I'm already hitting the button, the global cooldown comes to an end, but the ability does not go off yet. It takes a good fraction of a second more. This is not the case with lower latency connections. I hope that managed to illustrate the problem without distracting too much. To sum up, depending on latency, actions literally take longer to execute because of all of the previously outlined information from the thread. Before I end up talking in circles, I'll cut the video off here. Please let me know if there's anything else I can do to help illustrate the problem. That'll be all for now. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Bye!